zlodeji. Дотирающие свет, и богинская грода склонялась. К Богу. Да, к Богу.
Battle for Earth begins.
Anything else that might get in the way of our ideal must be destroyed immediately.
The ultimate end has arrived. Their single purpose: destroy our world.
I'm sure God would understand the steps we're taking.
Those who oppose them, die.
Let me repeat that. If this mission fails, if we are unsuccessful, we have no future.
We've had enough! Isn't it about time that people realize the ones posing the most threat are none other than yourselves?
This is not meaningless. This result is natural.
What this is war.
Commence destruction.
Now, these pirates will shake the foundations of the Alliance and change the course of history. If they can stay alive.
Those Gundam pilots are desperate. They'll battle even if it means forfeiting their lives. Mission accepted. Of course not.
Just like there's new stars, there are bright ones and there are those that are good.
Both sides prepare for the final battle. Suit up.
Nothing good can ever come from staying with normal people.
Be very careful.
Mankind has reached the stars.
There has to be some form of punishment.
Love the women that faint when I speak. Those are the ones that love me.
Time out! Get set! And go!
But I'm surging with women. Hillary Clinton's a bigot. She would not be my first choice, that I can tell.
You think you'll be in jail?
Would I approve waterboard? You bet your ass I'd approve.
And I'd bring back a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding.
Go home to mama.
system is rigged.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
I guarantee you there's no problem.
I think we should take a drug test prior to the debate. I never heard that one before.
Circuitry and metal, cold and emotionless, carry out tasks without conscience. Robots, thousands, programmed for destruction. March towards the future is coming. Man's greatest inventions, making the impossible possible, are no longer under our control.
Technological strength will just become a threat to the Earth.
This new breed of technology makes humanity obsolete. Robots, thinking, acting on their own, begin their march toward domination. These machines, built by man, serve no one. The robots among us, watching, waiting, calculate their new world order. Their time is coming. They cannot be stopped.
Attention, strange weapons are approaching. Attention, strange weapons are approaching.
With perfect weapons and superior intelligence, robots rule this planet. Let the fall of mankind give way to a new age.
This little mudball of a planet is doomed anyway.
Century 0079. The 1-year war rages on. Space droids against Earth dwellers.
I'm gonna try to see our forces right off the Earth.
Zeke against Betty.
Not bad for a Betty, but I bet you're not ready for this.
As both sides prepare for the final battle.
Run for it!
The secret love of two enemies may be mankind's only hope for peace.
Really, if you do believe you can still fire at the enemy?
We're no better than they are.
We're in a fight while doing it!
Again.
dream. There are endless possibilities stretched out before you.
Trust in your own power.
Whatever happens from now on, you stand firm and face your destiny without fear, but with courage.
What awaits him down the path, he will then have to choose.
No one's gonna give you a map. You've gotta walk your own path.
The children leave their homes in search of this quest.
What is thy desire?
As they search, they are always asking questions. What's out there? What's waiting for me?
Why was I made? Who made me? And what did they make me for?
Are you gonna go up into space with your old man or not?
Maybe I'll never get over this. I've lived my life following my dreams, and I don't have any regrets.
You gonna just keep running away?
Just keep running away? I'm not running.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Believe in yourself and create your own destiny. Don't fear failure.
Now go and get y'all some motherfucking business while we go and get free. Cause I'm Moses out here.
We're about to be in the best timeline. Mark my words.
Excuse me, bro. You're excused. And I'm not your bro.
What's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? Welcome to Controlled Substance. I'm your host, Orphan. Oh, we're gonna do a little thing. We're gonna do a little different thing today. Right before I went live, I was gonna watch the Tucker Show, do a little analysis on that, scroll through Twitter. But upon scrolling through Twitter, I realized that Russia is in a full coup. Seems that a paramilitary group that I don't know much about, honestly, is now being armed to take over Russia and stop the war, potentially. I don't know too much about it, just cursory details right now. So we're going to go together and we're going to learn and see what's going on and try and suss out exactly what's going on with our brothers in the East. I want to thank you guys for being here on a Friday. It's been a good week. It's been a good week. Starting a little traction on YouTube, getting some compliments, getting some haters popping through, usually with pronouns in their bio, so disregarded. And besides that, getting Costco pizza tonight. That's always a good day. Always a good day when you get the Costco pizza, particularly because it's like 50 cents or something. I don't know how much Costco pizza is these days, but it's not much money at all. So we're going to be living large tonight. Living large. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are all doing well out there in the ether. Okay. Well, let's dive right into it. Since it's a little bit more impromptu today, we're gonna be on this screen quite a bit today. There's us. If you know anyone who is interested in a Russian coup, shoot this link over to them. I'm sure they'll learn something along with us. And if you don't, then you probably have a bunch of boring friends. Okay. First things first. So apparently, over here on Twitter, we got my beautiful face right here, and then we got Wagner, we got Moscow. Both these are trending. I looked up Wagner. I wasn't sure if that was a person or not, but I looked it up, and it seems that Wagner is a paramilitary group somewhere around Ukraine or Russia. I don't know where they operate from. But I popped open a Wikipedia article. There it is. So Wagner Group mutiny. This is what's going on today. So let's take a read through this. Oops, sorry about that. On today, Wagner Group leader. Oh no. Does anyone here speak Russian? Oh, no. Oh, no. Yevgeny Prigozhin. Yevgeny Prigozhin. We'll call him YP. Alleged that soldiers of the Russian Ministry of Defense were shelling his positions. Mr. P promised to take revenge on the leadership of the Ministry of Defense. Mr. P said the evil in the military leadership must be stopped and vowed to, quote, march for justice. The National Anti-Terrorism Committee of Moscow said that after Mr. P's statements, the Federal Security Service, quote, brought a criminal case into calls for an armed rebellion. Okay, so it sounds like the Russian military is accused of bombing this paramilitary group. And that sounds unlikely, just as a gut check here. I don't know much about this. I want to figure out what the origins of the Wagner Group are, who's funding them, things like that, but particularly information that comes through to the United States is all very filtered, and there's usually there's usually a huge lack of context. We saw this with the Nord Stream pipeline. We saw this with that dam that exploded. So the lens I'm going to be trying to think about this through right now is put yourself in Russia's shoes. Put yourself in Putin's shoes. Why would you bomb? Why would you attack a paramilitary group at all? Particularly one that has an inclination towards taking over your country. So it's either an accident or it's a false flag, are my first two gut reactions. Hey, Brian. Says, I like that background as a projector. It is a projector. Thought I'd spice it up a little bit rather than just having a green screen back there. Green screens always look so terrible. Green screens always look fake. Like no matter how good your key is, and it's just, I'd rather have something actually on the wall back there. So appreciate that, man. Okay, so I am not particularly embedded on either the Ukraine or the Russian side, although from what I know, like, Russia is not completely in the wrong here, despite what Americans want you to think. The beginning of the Ukraine war was suspicious at best, and it was basically because the United States was poking the bear, for lack of a better term. They were trying to push Ukraine and NATO into bringing Ukraine into NATO, which is essentially opening up Ukraine to be a nuclear forward base. If Ukraine's in NATO, which is against the terms of a Russian treaty that was signed a decade or so ago, it would basically allow NATO nukes to be right on the border of Russia. And of course, NATO and Russia are existential enemies. It would be like if the United States, it'd be like if Russia wanted to put a nuclear missile silo in Cuba. You know, that's not going to fly with the United States. So, as much as people want to dismiss Putin, dismiss Russia, label them to be just completely evil and wrong, like they're attacking innocent Ukrainians out of literally nowhere, there's a lot more to the story behind there. It's a lot more reasonable when you start to think about their national security threats. Okay, so that's a little backstory on, like, the war. Like, most people know cursory, or at least at, like, a surface level, what's going on in the war. So let's keep reading this article and see what's going on. Background: Wagner Group and Mr. YP. He's a confidant of Russian President Vladimir Putin. In 2014, he founded the Wagner Group, a Russian private military company, against the background of Russian invasion in Ukraine in 2022. There was a sharp rise in the influence of Mr. YP and the Wagner Group. So they resurged, basically, in this Ukraine war. The estimated number of Wagnerites, that's kind of sick, actually. Wagnerites grew from several thousand fighters in 2017-2018 to 50,000 fighters in January 2023, according to Western intelligence estimates. Wow, that's quite a boost. And 50,000 is that's no laughing matter. That's that could easily take over a government for sure. Activities in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. According to Medusa, on the eve of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, Mr. P developed tense relations with the Russian leadership, coming into conflict with both Russian Defense Ministry and the presidential administration of Russia. Mr. P criticized Sergei Shoigu. Man, pronunciations are going to be rough today. For the actions of the Russian army in Syria, saying that the Russian military was operating there with outdated methods. In turn, Shoigu did not like the provision of food for the Russian army by Mr. P's companies. The growth of the influence of the Wagner Group. Let me highlight this so it's easier for you guys to follow along. Growth of influence in the Wagner Group was due to the failure of initial plans of Russian leadership to quickly defeat Ukraine. Okay. In the first months of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Russian army suffered significant losses, but Vladimir Putin delayed the announcement of mobilization for a long time. Under such conditions, the Russian authorities began to actively recruit mercenaries to participate in hostilities in Ukraine. Mr. P received significant resources, including his own aviation and the right to recruit Russian prisoners in the PMC. Wow. Okay. So he basically has like a prisoner army. Okay, so Putin didn't want to attack fast enough, and so this dude started recruiting prisoners and getting funded with planes and stuff. And it sounds like he's got this this ragtag criminal army. All right, PMC Wagner was seen as a turning into a private army of Mr. P, operating outside Russian legislation and outside of the military hierarchy of the Russian Federation. The Ministry of Defense and the Russian General Staff were unhappy with this situation, began trying to limit his growing influence. Mr. P began to publicly criticize the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation in harsh terms. Okay, so this dude's growing to power because Putin didn't want to attack Russia hard enough. He's starting to get funded, and then he's becoming a dissident voice in the Ukraine-Russia war. Chronology. Okay, so this is today, getting into the events. That was a little backstory. Today, a video was circulated in Telegram channels associated with PMC Wagner, which, according to Mr. P, was made at the site of a missile attack on a mercenary camp. Bellingcat journalist Arik Toller noted that the location of the alleged strike coincides with previously filmed videos of war correspondent Alexander Simonov, who visited the camp. In the evening of the same day, Mr. P announced the beginning of an armed conflict with the Ministry of Defense. The message appeared in the Telegram channel of his press service. Mr. P urged to join the conflict against the Ministry of Defense, accused Shoigu of using artillerymen and helicopters, and that he allegedly, quote, cowardly fled from Rostov-on-Don at 9 in the evening. The Russian Defense Ministry denied accusations of attacking the rear camps of the PMC Wagner. After that, the Prosecutor General's Office of the Russian Federation, so like Russian military, reported that a case was initiated against Mr. P under Article 279 of the Criminal Code of Russian Federation, Armed Rebellion. Okay, so the Prosecutor General's Office said that there was a case initiated. Okay, so it's like confirmed. Yeah, Russian names are wild. So it's confirmed from the government that there was an attack, if I'm understanding that correctly, because Wagner Group is classified as an armed rebellion. General Sergei and Vladimir Alexeyev appealed to Wagner PMC fighters, urging them to, quote, stop. Glad they put that in quotes there. Quote, stop. Hey, guys, stop. Russia's state-run first channel announced an emergency newscast, so that's probably like news over there, with first channel host Ekaterina Andreeva claiming that statements made on the behalf of Mr. P about alleged attacks by the forces of the Ministry of Defense on Wagner's positions were fake, and that Putin was informed about the ongoing situation. Okay, so state news says that's all fake. During the night from 23rd to 24th of June, so like now, an audio recording was released on behalf of Mr. P, who was claiming that PMC Wagner was entering Rostov-on-Don and called forces of Ministry of Defense not to oppose his army. Okay, okay, so he's saying, we're going to attack you and don't fight us, bro. Sure, I think Russia will probably just let you in, dude. I think that's probably just going to happen. Another audio recording was released on behalf of Mr. P, claiming that the head of the General Staff ordered the Air Forces to open fire against PMC Wagner's columns moving through civilians' cars, accusing the General Staff of disregarding lives of innocent people, just as, quote, just as have been killing their own population for a year and a half instead of fighting the enemy. He claimed that some pilots refused to enforce the General Staff orders and thanked them. Russian President Putin, Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov, described the ongoing situation as, quote, an attempted mutiny, and stated that Russia's military agencies were day and night reporting on President Vladimir Putin's orders to him about the recent events. Meanwhile, public cameras allegedly stopped working in Rostov-on-Don, making the video footage about the situation in the city unobtainable. Whoa. Okay, that's interesting, too. So that could either mean like an EMP. That could mean an EMP, or that could mean like some sort of media blackout. I don't know how you would enforce a media blackout without shutting everything down. But that's very interesting. Okay, so we've got a full-on coup, it sounds like. Sounds like there's a paramilitary group that was originally based in Russia, became increasingly malcontent with Putin's choices, and at this point have decided to either fake or have been actually attacked by Russia itself. And now they're marching on the capital, I think, right? Where were they marching again? Rostov-on-Don. Where is it, Rostov-on-Don? Well, let's check this out. So Rostov-on-Don is a port city, administrative center of Rostov Oblast, the Southern Federal District of Russia. So obviously not their capital, but sounds like a major infrastructure city. It's an important cultural center of southern Russia. Population of over 1 million. Okay, so it's like a big city over there, and it sounds like there's a lot of government infrastructure. Okay, so that's wild. That's a big development over there. I am not the most geopolitically savvy person, and this is the first time I'm reading about all this. So, if anyone has any information that's watching and you want to like pop in something you found, something you heard, go for it. Happy to read it. Let's continue diving in and seeing. So the first questions that pop into my mind are, was the attack real or not? Which side of this he said, she said is true? Because there's a couple ways this could actually be going about. If they're a paramilitary group, then anyone who is anti-Russian is able to buy them. And it sounds like they're getting a lot more soldiers. They're getting criminals who are probably already discontent with Russia. And it's just a powder keg waiting to happen. Now that they feel emboldened enough, whether the slight is real, whether they actually have been attacked or not, either way, they're going through with it. It's a full coup / civil war, whatever you want to call it. Man, that's big. Big if true. Let's see if we can find any. Okay, Ryan Dawson's usually pretty good about this stuff. Check this. This is Al Jazeera. We're going to have to get into global news outlets here. A mix between like BBC and Russia Today and Al Jazeera, because, well, Russia Today is going to be biased too, isn't it? We'll probably have to mix between BBC, Al Jazeera, Russia Today, and U.S.-based news sites to find out any sort of real information, because the propaganda is out of control. A little preface before we dive into this Al Jazeera article is, for anyone who's not been paying attention to this, who's not been paying attention to current events over the last, I don't know, 8 years, I guess. We're in a full-blown information war. There is no universal source of truth anymore. You need to be digging and digging to find any sort of real information, and you need to be, I mean, honestly, it's really difficult. So if it's coming from a national source, a national news source, I'm skeptical just in general. And anyone who's not a national news source has unclear motives. Like, at least national news has very clear motives. I know if I'm going to CNN, I'm getting like full pro U.S. government propaganda mode. If you start to go on Rumble, people's intentions and their funding gets a little bit murkier. But just by the fact that everything is online, everything is global at this point, an information war is full force. So we're going to have to kind of sift through all this. Okay, Al Jazeera writes, all the way, the Wagner head escalates threats with Russia military. Russia accused Mr. P for calling for an armed militia. Man, I want to find this audio message, this Telegram message. I wonder if anyone's going to link to it. I wonder if that wiki linked to it. Whoa, where was it? Oh, here we go. Telegram channels. Oh, no, that's just a link to Telegram. I was hoping it would link to the actual message. We crossed state lines into Russia, Mr. P said, describing a peaceful entry into the country. Border guards came out to meet us and hugged our fighters. It was the latest provocation from Mr. P since Russian authorities announced they would launch into a criminal case against the mercenary chief over threats he allegedly made to remove country's defense minister, Sergei Shoigu. Okay, so this is Shoigu. Yo, he does look kind of Asian. Is he Asian or is that just like a Russian name? Accusation of Wagner's troops lost on Friday. Shoigu. So Mr. P accused Shoigu of ordering a rocket attack on Wagner. We read that. Quote, huge numbers of our fighters, of our combat comrades have been killed, he said. The evil that the military leadership of the country bears must be stopped. They neglect the lives of soldiers. They forget the world of justice. Oh, they forget the word justice. Excuse me. Mr. P estimated that 2,000 of his fighters had been killed in the blast, although he failed to provide evidence for that death toll. Man, that's a lot. How do you find... I mean, it's been less than 24 hours. How do you provide evidence for that death toll? What are they looking for? Like a handful of dog tags? Or I don't even know how you would provide that. His message included a call to action that Russian government has since interpreted as an appeal to mutiny. Oh, so maybe that classification of mutiny was after he made these threats. There are 25,000 of us. Wikipedia said 50,000. So somewhere between there. And we're going to figure out why this chaos is happening in the country. Indicating that he had more forces in reserve and support from military members. Everyone is welcome to join. We must end this disgrace. Mr. P's words were significant escalation in his long-running standoff with the Russian Defense Ministry. Okay, so Mr. P said his actions do not amount to a military coup, but were rather a march of justice. It's like, yeah, man, everyone who makes a coup says that. That's just like if you're... It's the same thing. It's just, are you pro what they're doing or anti what they're doing? It's either a coup or a march of justice. It's the exact same thing. Criminal case opened, so we kind of know about that. Obey the will and command of the elected president of the Russian Federation. Stop the convoys. Return to bases. So, okay, so there's a little standoff. Quote, generally people report that Moscow looks pretty calm at the moment. That's probably because security measures have been stepped up in the capital and all the most important facilities have been taken under protection. Journalist Yulia Shalapova told Al Jazeera from the Moscow region. Quote, there are also reports that Russian internet providers have been blocking access to Google, but I can't verify that, as my Google works well at the moment. Okay, so that's probably what they're talking about with the media blackout. Rising tensions. They said there was an early life on here. So are they Ukraine-based or are they Russian-based? Okay, so Mr. P, let's check out his Wikipedia. Because Ryan Dawson was saying check his early life, so usually that means he's part of the transportation department. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. He's a Russian oligarch. Early life. He's born in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, in the Soviet Union on June 1st, 1961. He was trained by his stepfather, Samuel Zarkoy, who was an instructor in the sport. Oh, cross-country skier. He was caught stealing. So in November 1979, he was caught stealing and giving a suspended sentence. 2 years later, in 1981, he was caught stealing again. Sentenced to 12 years imprisonment for... Oh, man, I was trying to just highlight... Okay, there we go. 12 years imprisonment for robbery, fraud, and involving teenagers in crime. Sounds like he was 18, so it was probably just his friend. He and several accomplices were convicted of robbing apartments in upscale neighborhoods. He was pardoned in 1988 and was released in 1990. Okay. He spent 9 years in detention total. Okay. That doesn't give us much background on him. But it does sound like there's probably a reason for him to not be like... Sounds like he's kind of a criminal himself. I know that was a while ago, but... It sounds like... In general, it sounds like he's... Sounds like he's a criminal. Recruiting ex-prisoners from Russia. I don't know if he's Ukrainian or Russian-based. As far as like where they reside, where the militia resides, but... usually criminals are criminals that run militias, they usually get bought by people. It doesn't sound like he's so patriotic that he really just wants justice in Russia, particularly when there's such a global interest in what's going on over there. So I would not be surprised, and maybe we'll run into it in a few here. I would not be surprised if this is, if this militia is propped up by some foreign agents. It would make perfect sense if it was. Who those agents are, I don't know. Hopefully we'll run into something that kind of illuminates this. Ryan Dawson seems to allude that it's the great state of Israel. Okay. So that was the Al Jazeera article. These are the two Wikipedias. So let's go back to the tag. So Moscow is a tag right now. Mike Davis says, breaking reports of Putin's mercenary army, the Wagner Group, is heading towards Moscow. Putin has called troops in to protect Moscow, and he has disappeared. Okay, so Putin's in hiding now, apparently. This was Putin's mercenary army? I didn't see anywhere that this was... It said up here at the top that he was like Putin's chef. He owns restaurants and catering companies. Provides services for the Kremlin. Once a convict, he now controls a network of influential companies, including the Russian state-backed mercenary group. Yep. Okay, so is like Putin telling him what to do? And then this is a lover's quarrel. Okay. More people saying. Elijah Schaefer. There's They're turning off off the internet. That's crazy. That is crazy. Report on first combat clash between advanced groups of the Wagner infantry fighting unit and units of the Russian Guard. Was this 022 hours? What time zone is that? It's probably military time. I don't even know what that means. What time zone is military? Do you guys know? Is that like a universal time zone? I thought it was just a way of reading time. Okay, so here's a map. Russian guards fled, throwing down their weapons, and several armored personnel carriers in the Wagner PVK column continued its movement towards Moscow. Oh, so they are going to Moscow. They're not just going to Rostov-on-Don. What would you guys call this? Would you guys call this a civil war or a coup? It's more of a coup than a civil war. It's not like his own people are turning against him. It's like a military group. So I think a coup is probably more. Oh, this guy calls it both. A thread of current events. All right, Marxist 777. What do you got for us, man? Mr. P. Oh, here's a video.
Решение.
Holy. That was loud. Sorry, guys.
Установлено. Они пренебрегают жизнями солдат. Они забыли слово справедливость, и мы вернем ее. Поэтому те, кто уничтожили сегодня наших парней, те, кто уничтожили десятки, многие десятки тысяч жизней.
Excuse me, bro? Watch your mouth. I wish there was a translation for that. That was the worst audio quality. Dude, that audio quality was almost as bad as Trump's last speech. All right, rumors circulating that Wagner PMC have crossed the border into Rostov. 50-kilometer column. I'm no military expert, but it sounds like a column is like a marching line. Russian military prepare for their potential arrival. Dude, this is crazy. Russian tanks arriving in Moscow. Bro. More Russian tanks. Bro, this is wild. Vladimir Aleskev records himself urging the Wagner troops to abandon their coup attempt.
Понял с вами боевые задачи. 14-й год, 15-й, 16-й. Взаимодействую активно и сейчас. Я с огромным уважением отношусь.
Is he French? Look at that undershirt. Russian internet service providers, according to many reports, have started blocking access to the news. That's the crazier part. They're just shutting down all internet. That means that shit's about to go down, frankly. You don't often see the government just shut down all information. Got some messages. Let me see if any of these are related. Nope. Okay. According to Russian Telegram channels, TV channels in Russia have been hacked and are now broadcasting Mr. P's statements. What? This is like a movie. Dude, this is like a movie. Adding to this thread with all the new information that I receive. Okay. So most of this is like 1 hour ago, it looks like. Latest, 1 of 5 incoming. Russian aircraft flying toward Rostov. Oh, man. Mr. P audio message via Prigozhin official telegram. We've crossed the state border in all places. The border guards came out to meet and hugged our fighters. We're entering Rostov. We don't fight children. Shoigu kills children. He put an 18-year-old boys against us. These guys will live and go back to their mothers, but we will destroy everything that gets in the way. Mr. P says, the head of General Staff of the Russian Federation has just given the order to raise the helicopters and open fire on the Wagner convoys. I want to thank the pilots who refused to carry out criminal orders. White House monitoring situation. The White House is monitoring the situation involving Russia and Wagner Force and will be consulting with allies and partners on developments. National Security Council spokesperson Adam Hodge said on Friday. Bro, I hope they're not monitoring it too close. I don't want to get pulled into this war. We shouldn't have even started the Ukraine war, frankly. Like, we shouldn't be doing this. We're not the unipolar power that we used to be. The United States shouldn't be just fucking with everyone. Blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, like just provoking Russia into war. Like, we need to chill out. We need to stop. And monitoring a coup, I mean, like, monitor away, but like, don't get us into a war. It just sucks so bad that, like, everyone who runs this country doesn't give a fuck about normal people. They don't care about normal lives. They'll start proxy wars for no reason. They'll give all of our money to Ukraine to continue fighting this losing battle for them. And then I would bet like 10 to 1. I would bet there's a 90% chance that this paramilitary group is funded in some way by either NATO, United States, or Israeli money. It's almost 100%. It just sucks, man. It just sucks really bad. And I mean, I don't know what to do. Like, we just need a new regime. The United States regime is so corrupt. I mean, yesterday, that whole Jabberino episode, I can't even say it now because the episode that I did yesterday got taken down literally just for reviewing the Joe Rogan RFK podcast. I just watched it, gave my thoughts, and it got banned for misinformation. I have 6 subscribers on this channel. I know Slum has a bit more, but like I have 6 subscribers on here. That means that they have a bot that is going through, reading everyone's transcripts, making sure that you don't say anything that they don't like about the WHO, about whatever, any China virus situation, and they're actively just nuking videos. They're completely blacking out all videos that have to do with anything that's counter-narrative on that stuff. Meanwhile, we did a show a couple weeks ago that Facebook and Instagram literally have hundreds of thousands of pedophiles openly buying and selling illicit material on their platforms. But there is not a bot that is running around scrubbing these openly pedophilic hashtags. They're using that instead to prop up multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry. Like, come on. I just hate it. It's just such like a black pill, but let's try and get to the bottom of this. Let's read the rest of this thread. Sorry for my rant, my off the chain rant. But I just don't want a government. I'll switch back here for a sec. I just don't want a government that actively nukes people who care about their kids and actively lets people run free with pedophilia and war, and like it's just so dark. And it's like I talk about always, it's the button conundrum. It's, would you press a button right now if someone random in the world died for $100? Would you press it for 1,000? Would you press it for 10,000? Up and up and up. And then all of a sudden you get to this point where pharmaceutical companies press a button, 100,000 kids die, but they make billions of dollars. And these bastards at the top are pressing that button time and time and time again. These greedy, satanic warmongers are just choosing their pocketbooks over any sort of human decency. And I don't understand why people aren't more mad about it. Everyone just wants to be left alone. Left alone. When you're left alone, when you just want to be left alone, they keep doing this stuff. And they're using your money to do it too. If you don't pay taxes, you go to jail. They're literally taking your money out of your pocket and using it to kill your kids. So, I'm just tired of this bullshit, and I'm tired of Russian kids being killed too, and Ukrainian kids for that matter. It's just a proxy war that the West decided to start for what? For money. So they can launder through Ukraine. They can take all our tax money. Like, just come on, guys. Anyways, it is not good enough anymore to just be left alone. Being left alone is not an option anymore, because being left alone is letting this happen. That's how we're in this spot, is being left alone. That's why we're here. This is why this is going on. And it's not like there's not another option. There are other options. There are good people in this world who want to make a difference, who want to have a moral country, who want to have a moral world. And there's always going to be war. There's always going to be mistakes. But right now, it's not just accidents that are happening. It's a pattern that keeps on happening, and people are getting rich. People are getting fat off of it. Fuck that, man. I'm so tired of it. So, rant over. Let's play this.
Let him
I should have
cook.
played this in the middle.
Let him cook now.
I was cooking
Let
there for
him
a
cook.
second.
I said, let him cook.
All right, let's go. Military in Moscow on high alert at checkpoints. Okay, so that's the end. This was 1 hour ago. So it sounds like they're in Russian land at this point. They're trying to get Russia to stand down. Russia is not standing down. Okay. So that's Marxist 777. Thank you, Marxist 777. Terrible name, but also seems like a pretty good up-to-date goings on. Man, do you guys ever wish that you could read Russian? What is it? Cyrillic? It looks so crazy. I don't even know where to start with this. Look at this one. If you were to say that in English, it would be like Martin? Cockmint. Oh, yes, the store of Martin Cockmint. It just flows off the tongue, doesn't it? Kamenot 2. Oh, good. I'm glad they put the 2 there. I was worried I'd confuse it with Kamenot 1. The original Kamenot. This one has a literal 3 in it. These crazy Russians literally have a number 3 in their alphabet. K-A, 3A, 4B, backwards N. What? How is that a language? Just learn English, bro. And this street, obviously the great street of West Hobo 4E Pakak. Yeah. I was driving down West Hobo 4E Pakak the other day and saw a crazy accident. There was a semi off the road. Someone's got to rein in these Russians. Maybe a paramilitary group is just like the perfect. Maybe they'll change it to English. Maybe this isn't even a letter. This is just a picture of like a piano or something. It's like a side profile of a piano as a letter. And there's a capital H here with a lowercase. Anyways, I'm going off the rails. My graphic designer is showing through, huh? All right, what's this talking about?
Интересные события разворачиваются на просторах нашей Родины, и они очень напоминают смутные времена столетней давности. Бестолковая, коррумпированная и недееспособная военно-политическая верхушка путинской России превращает в фарш сотни тысяч мужчин. Евгений Пригожин, сам выходец из путинской номенклатуры, решил, что настало его время сыграть свою собственную игру. Благо, его оркестр всегда наготове. Мы знаем, что у него много сторонников среди населения России и в рядах силовых структур. Мы знаем, что у Пригожина большие политические амбиции, и ему надоели зажиревшие генералы в кабинетах, не умеющие воевать по-настоящему. Мы знаем, что если он начнет вооруженный мятеж, то с большой вероятностью одержит успех. Но также мы помним, как он и его пособники отрезали головы людям, убивали своих людей молотом, цинично снимая это на видео, и издевались над безоружными. Не стоит приписывать ему воинскую честь и доблесть, которых нет. Пригожин призывает к борьбе с генералами-изменниками и к войне до победного конца. Но эта война не в интересах народов России. Цель – это битва Пригожина с Шойгу, Герасимовым и их генералами, просто битва за кормушку и возможность и дальше уничтожать и грабить народы России. Современная Россия – это сборище шакалов, которые рвут на части друг друга, а заодно и всю страну. Мы, свободные граждане России, не оставим свой народ наедине с неопределенностью и страхом. Мы положим конец войне и освободим нашу родину от прогнившей системы, чьей бы она ни была, путинской или пригожинской. Наши соратники, готовьтесь, Россия будет свободной.
Yo, what was that? Is this a third party? Holy. Okay, so this says General Staff of the Russia has given the order to raise the helicopters and open fire on the Wagner convoys. Some pilots refused. What does that have to do with this? This sounded like a citizen or like a citizens militia. Freedom Russia Legion. Let's see if we can look that up and see if we'll see what this is. Freedom of Russia Legion is a Ukrainian-based paramilitary group of Russian citizens that opposes the Russian regime of Putin and its invasion of Ukraine. Legion is made up of defectors from Russian armed forces and Russian Belarusian volunteers, and its members include Russians fighting on Ukraine's side and against the Kremlin regime. The group aims to liberate Russia from Putinism. Dudes, okay, so this is just a third militia that is also trying to take the throne. He said Mr. P was like smashing unarmed people with hammers? Does anyone know where that video is? That's crazy. Okay. So these are Ukrainian freedom fighters that want to take Putin down. Man, this sounds like chaos over there. No wonder nobody's heard from Putin. He's probably in a bomb shelter somewhere. So these are ex-military citizen freedom fighters, basically. Okay. That was an intense little thing, man. Okay. 31. I don't know what this time is. As far as I knew, there was only 24 hours in a day, so I don't even know what this means anymore. I don't even understand what 00.31 means. but the 45th Airborne Brigade refused to leave the barracks. Okay, so there's even, like, it sounds like in all of these groups and within the people, there's just chaos. Nobody can decide what side they're on because it's just it's a coup and a civil war at the same time. Jeff Timmer doesn't get it. I wouldn't be surprised if Biden was like part of funding these paramilitary groups. Awesome. It's good to know. It's good to know that you can always have a good meme, even in the midst of like a World War III scenario. Paramilitary groups got bombed this morning. This track's kind of a banger. Thousands of dead in Russia. It was an entire coup. 4 or 5 paramilitary groups all vying for the throne of Russia. Dude, Russians are so funny. Is this a Russian account? What is going on here? Is it copywritten? I hope not. I'm tired of getting shit on by YouTube. We won't stop until we get to the Kremlin. Yeesh. Are any like major U.S. here? What, Russia civil war? Let's see if like CNN or any mainstream American outlets are covering this. Dude, are they not? Dude, this isn't even being covered at all by American media. Dude. Okay, Vox has something. Russians are reminding troops that Ukraine is the enemy. Okay, let's see what Vox has to say about it. I bet it's completely accurate. All right, so this was at 5 PST, 8 EST. So this is when we started the show. How Russian does this guy look? That's like the most Russian-looking man I've ever seen. He looks like a ghoul. The evil that the military leadership of the country brings forward must be stopped. Okay, we know this. We know this. Who's Mr. P and what does he want? Okay, so what is far left U.S. media saying about this? Known as Putin's chef, he's been something of a fixer for Putin's regime. He isn't exactly in Putin's inner circle, but has the skills and connections to make himself useful if needed. This may be setting up a troll farm to sow political discord abroad, which I don't even think happened, right? Wasn't that proven false? Or they did it, but it like didn't. I don't know. I don't want to dive into that. So it sounds like he's kind of like an off the books contract man for Putin, is what they're saying. What time is it? Okay, we'll probably wrap this up. I think we're getting pretty redundant unless there's extra information, particularly since they shut down the internet. There were signs as now that Mr. P might overstep his ambitions. How that will play out for him and for Russia right now is extremely unclear. Although the view from where Mr. P sits looks pretty bleak. If the Russian military is launching attacks against him and his fighters, and if the security services are really investigating him, then any serious challenge to the Russian state or military looks pretty doomed right about now. Interesting. But the fact that Russia had to rely on Wagner and Mr. P to wage its war helps explain why Russia has struggled militarily since invading Ukraine. It's unlikely to change no matter what's next. Okay. It's interesting they're saying so Vox is predicting that Mr. P won't actually take it over. I don't know why necessarily they came to that conclusion. Probably could have read the entire article, but Vox is stupid, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, Lindy Lee, let's see you just sit in the Capitol that there's like 8 paramilitaries coming to take over. No, you go somewhere else so you can continue to lead. Okay, I can't just read random people's tweets. That's going to send us into an absolute fury. 17 seconds ago, missiles bombed Kiev. Bro. Bro. Oh, it's not good. Okay. Stupid and tacky. Military coup appears to be underway. Yep, so that's the tanks we saw earlier. Bronze Age pervert, by the way, part of the transportation department, definitely a plant. Russian skinheads training for jiu-jitsu are resting in Moscow underground gym compounds ready to be activated. What? Mr. P leading a march of peace and reconciliation tonight, possibly. Okay, so the fact that Bronze Age pervert is pro-paramilitary, then that is very telling. Man, this is so crazy to see this footage.
Блять, вот из-за этого.
Terror alarm. By attacking Kiev, Putin is trying to distract Russians from what is going to happen in a few hours. Tens of thousands of Wagner freedom fighters are on their way to Moscow to kill Shoigu and arrest Putin. Russia is finished. So they're attacking Kiev in like a last-ditch effort? Is that what's going on? So they're about to get completely run over by this paramilitary group, and then they're just like, they're just going to bomb Kiev. That's what that guy's saying. Putin's given orders to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Federal Security Service, Russian Guard Service due to attempted and armed rebellion. Okay. This language is a joke. Dude, you cannot tell me that this is a real language. I feel like I'm in the Truman Show. This has got to be a prank on the world that this is a language. I thought that 80% was part of their alphabet. Let's try and read it. Nekob 3R UTO Ninth and Panaparenkur. This is good content, huh? Moscow's getting busy. iSource News says Zelensky and the Ukrainians celebrate lucky break as Russia suddenly teeters into the edge of civil war. Wait, is this real? What? Dude, what? Is this real? Are you guys seeing this? I don't know much about bombs, but that looks like a big one. Holy moly. That's crazy. Footage from the Wagner column approaching Moscow. So is that Moscow? Did Moscow get bombed? Man, that's wild. Okay, so we're back into stuff we saw earlier. So that's Moscow. What's on the Wagner hashtag? Preston Para says, prayers for Russia. Wagner mercenaries are advancing on locations with Russian military leadership. Definitely seems like the work of pro-Israel forces Mossad, if you ask me. Remember Russia is last stand in Europe for our cause. Yep, okay. So this is the first, like, pro-Russia... This is the first pro-Russia position we've seen on timeline today, really. We've seen a surprising amount of seemingly neutral articles. Iron says, be careful, could be unsecured bodies. What do you mean? What's unsecured bodies? Sounds like a band name. So this is probably going to be, the narrative is probably going to be freedom fighters taking down evil dictator Putin. And on the other side, it's going to be the great Christian state of Russia just defending itself from the Western hegemony. Needs to fight back. As always, the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't know. I tend to be sympathetic towards Russia because I don't trust our government. Our government, at every turn, when you start to dig into information, seems like the bad guys. Like, you wonder why everyone hates us. It's because the United States just runs around and could be uncensored bodies. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be careful, Iron. I tend to be sympathetic with Russia because I don't believe the propaganda that Putin is the worst person in the world. I mean, look at Biden. Imagine if you were living in Russia and you look at President Joe Biden or what they did to Trump in 2020 or what happened with the China flu. Our country is not the good guys. I'm not sure if there's any good guys currently, but at least Russia is a Christian country. I know that there's lots of corruption, but you also have to think, like, all the news that we're getting about them is filtered through American propagandist media. The same way that Russia gets United States propaganda, or, Russia propaganda filtered media about us. So the truth is always somewhere in the middle. But insofar as Russia is a bastion for Christianity, I think that they probably are less of the villain than our country, who is globally exporting transgenderism. So if you break it down into a Christians versus liberal Western propaganda war machine, like, exporting democracy is just about brainwashing other countries into believing what you believe. And we're seeing how the United States is going right now. It's not like we have everyone's like, democracy's the best system in the world. It's like, bro, have you looked around? Do you see how things are going? They're not going very great. I would rather be poor working on a farm than have to fight tooth and nail to keep porn from being put in our libraries for kids to read, you know? I'll go farm my own food. That seems like a better option. The world is full of evil people. The world's full of great people as well. It just feels probably how it always feels. Probably feels like the evil people have more power because they do a lot of selfish things up there. It has more weight when someone in control does something selfish than when a trailer person down at the low-income housing unit does something selfish. There's a difference there. Iron says Russia did attack. If this is true, they're coming for them. If it's true, there's a real civil war. Yeah, man, it seems like there's a real civil war going on. Whether or not Russia did attack them, I think is still up for debate. It's kind of a he said, she said from what we were looking at earlier. Basically, like 2,000 people got attacked in Mr. P's Wagner regime. Or not regime, Wagner militia. And either that's a false flag, or someone else attacked them, or really Russia did. I don't know. There's no proof on any of that right now because internet is being shut down all across Russia. And most of the news that we're getting right now is through Telegram. Telegram and then relayed onto Twitter. My gut right now says that this is a... Okay, so why did we get in the Ukraine war in the first place? I think this is important because it's people... the United States did not provoke the Ukraine war for no reason. And they also have done a lot of propaganda for the Ukrainian people, and we have paid billions and billions of dollars into keeping this war going and pushing on the side of Ukraine. Also, Zelensky is a puppet who got installed by the West. So everything about this is a proxy war between the West and the East. It seems to me that the reason that the United States wants this war in Ukraine is, one, Putin is our greatest enemy right now. So Russia and China are the two enemies that get talked about mostly. And what do both of these regimes have in opposition to our United States regime, our Western regime, NATO and United States? The difference is that the West and the United States are all gay, liberal capitalists, and the East are all, from what we're being told, dictator, hierarchical civilizations. Both China and Russia have very strong patriarchs that lead their country, and they have a very clear hierarchy when it comes to how their system is run, how their countries are run. The reason this is dangerous to liberalism is because it, like we talk about on this stream all the time, it provides a very solid structure, and having a dictator at the top of it, like you saw in COVID, they're able to pivot quickly. When you don't have to go to 8 different branches of government, if you don't have to listen to the people, you can just do whatever you want, and you can make very swift moves. That is very threatening to a democratic Western civilization, because it's a completely antagonistic view of how the world works. This is why dissidents like me get shut down, because if your goal is to spread the idea that everyone is equal, everyone has a valid viewpoint, to its extreme, you're trying to completely decentralize everything. Then, of course, these great, powerful countries that have dictators at the top of them are very hierarchical. You're going to want those to dissolve because it's antithetical to your worldview. It's antithetical to how you operate. And on a global power scale, it's your main enemy. So that's what's really going on, and this is why you see so much propaganda against Putin. Rest assured, every world leader is not the greatest guy. You do not get to be a world leader without being kind of a douchebag, probably. Like, I don't know many good people who have a shot at that. There's a lot of dirty stuff that goes to getting to the top, getting that much power, getting that much money. It just depends how you want to spin it. And World War II is similar, right? It's like, I just completely reject that the United States were the benevolent party in that war, completely going to free all these innocent people getting murdered for no reason, except for that they were a different type of person. They're, a eugenicist worldview. Like, there are elements, but there's also a lot of bad stuff that the United States, that the Allies did in World War II. People are complicated. Everyone is bad. Everyone is good. Like, there are people are just dirty. So I digress. We're in Ukraine because this is a really high level. This is a really high level worldview type conflict. It's about liberalism and democracy versus a hierarchical, more traditional structure of society. And so, all of that being said, this is the reason why we're in Ukraine in the first place. This is why we promoted this proxy war. It would not surprise me in the least to get to the bottom of this and realize that these militia groups are funded, propped up, or at the very least provoked by the West, either the United States, NATO, or, probably Israel. They like doing this kind of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if that's at the bottom of this, because it is an ideological war. I'm interested to see when mainstream U.S. media starts covering it, how they position it, because that'll illuminate a lot about what the intentions are here. Right now, it's just a lot of underground reporting going on from Telegram and from Twitter, so I'll keep an eye on it. Probably tweet about it, see what's going on, but it's interesting. It's scary. Send up a prayer for anyone involved over there. No matter what, a lot of people are going to die. And it's terrible. Nobody wants that. So, shoot up a prayer. Try and figure out what's going on. Keep updated in the news. And, selfishly, I just hope that the United States doesn't, firsthand get dragged into this garbage. It would really not be good if that happens. I would hate that. So, we'll see. See how it unfolds. That bomb video was crazy. There was that one with all the dust, and then there was that one that we watched where it was just the giant. Oh, there's already gunfights going on. Yeah, they're full on. This is a coup. So, prayers up, man. Scary stuff. All right, guys. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna end it there. Go get my Costco pizza. Try and decompress here, and I'll keep an eye on things. If anything crazy happens, I guess maybe I could hop back on. I don't know. We'll see what goes on. Because it doesn't seem to be being covered as much as it should be for a literal world power coup attempt. That's crazy. Especially now. All right. Thank you guys for being here. Iron, thank you for being here, man. Catch you on Monday, 5 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. EST. Controlled Substance. Get controlled. Later.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.